the last time I recorded this, I didn't really have much of programming to show. Now, I've spent these last couple of days working out how I am going to do the living room scene. I guess that's the best way to put it. And I've had to change a few minor things due to a few issues that I personally could not find a solution to, but there are likely going to be answers to them. I just, for now, want to ensure that I finish the game with working but messy code and then fix it up later on. So, as you can see, there isn't really anything changed in the scenery, but what has been changed is with the player. Now, I have got a player controller, of course, but it's disabled for this scene. The other variant will have the player controller enabled, but this one will not. Now, another thing is with the E key. I've gone ahead and I've changed the sprite so that it has this extra text on top because of the design change. If I were to show it to you, I can explain. So during the work on programming this, I tried getting it so that you can look around your room, and if you press E while looking at the TV, you can zoom in on the TV, and if you press again, you zoom out. Now, again, I personally haven't been able to find a solution to getting it exactly like that, so for now, I have it so that whenever you are not holding down on the E key, you can look around your room, but as soon as you look at the TV, you'll zoom in on it. If you go ahead and you hold E, you are allowed to freely look around even while looking at the TV. And that is why the pop-up will show up. Otherwise, of course, the camera would switch back to it if you look at it without holding E. Now, if I go ahead and I show this, we have the interact be set to its own input. And again, the reason why I couldn't get it to work the way I want it to is because I don't understand the new input system just yet. If I were using the old one, I could most likely get this done a lot easier. It's just that this one requires a few extra steps. So, of course, we have the other codes here and there. If I were to change my screen and have it fit. So, we have here, of course, the mouse look script. Now, if I zoom in, you can see it a lot easier. So, with how this works is the script will connect to the parent object, and it will go ahead and allow it so that if you move this camera, it will move the parent's object's rotation instead. And of course, whenever you are on the game, it would set your cursor to not show up. I will, of course, evolve this whenever I want to add a pause menu. And so how this works is in the update section, it will call to the function of look. Now what happens here is the mouse look will connect to the play the 3D script and find the look value given to me via the controller here, being the Delta mouse. Now, if I re enable this, and what will happen then is the camera will try to collect the mouse X and mouse Y, and it would go ahead and also clamp the camera so that you cannot pass through after going down or up a certain degree, restricting you from essentially going full around in a circle if you kept moving your mouse upwards. Now, of course, this goes ahead and it connects to the mouse and it will rotate the object, of course, being the main object of parent. And these functions will enable the new input system's look function itself. I'm not 100% on that because, again, I'm not fully used to this, so this is still somewhat new. Now, the raycast has received a bit of tweaking here and there. We have it so that the raycast would connect to the camera, to the image, while also connecting to another script called the switch camera script. If I were to click on this, we can see the switch camera script. Now, what the switch camera does is it detects for bulls on whether or not the camera is pointing at the TV and whether or not you have hit E. And what will happen is it will connect to the animator and disable and re-enable specific cameras. This will also link to the mouse look script because it will go ahead and disable the mouse so that you cannot move in this zoomed in form. Now, what happens is if the main camera is pointing towards the TV and you hit E, it will go ahead and play the animation of the zoomed in camera to move forward. It will also go ahead and disable the main camera and set the new zoomed in camera on so it can switch. This will also disable the look and it will disable the E key text from showing up in front of the screen, allowing the player to be able to see their game. And if, for example, you were to have the trigger set to off, it will of course go ahead and set itself back to the original main camera. Now, originally, I was following guidance from lectures and online tutorials, and I had it set to a function. Though, after a long while of trying to get this to work, it didn't seem like it wanted to. So I've gone ahead and I've completely wiped out the input section in the script, and all this does is detect the raycast and that input in there instead of doing its own input in here. Now, of course, if we go back over to here, we can see that the raycast will connect to the main camera, which will then go ahead and always ensure that the raycast is detecting nothing as of there. If the raycast shoots forward and will detect the tag of interactable, which is set to the E key, it would go ahead and enable the image, while also switching on cam active. Therefore, if you were to press and hold the E key, it would go ahead and allow you to zoom out. Again, it was originally designed so that if the player were to not have the E key pressed, if the player were to hold down E, it would go ahead and switch. But I couldn't get it so that it wouldn't be a hold and more of a toggle. Therefore, I switched it around, and now we have it so that if you hold it, you can free look, which, thinking about it, works well with my game in the first place, because the whole idea is that the player grows addicted to playing this game. Therefore, he's more stuck in playing this, and occasionally he'll look around his room. So it ends up being a positive. It works out for me better. And then we have extra things, of course, like the debug draw ray, which goes ahead and fires the laser, and it would disable the camera and disable the boolean for the cam active. If, of course, we had to connect the function of the camera. So if I were to go to here, you can see we've connected to the player 3D, which is connected to the interact. Because of that, if we were to go on to camera P, we can see that we connect towards a new player 3D, which then would connect to here and link towards the interact function. And of course, we apparently need these to even make it work in the first place. But that should be it in terms of progress. We haven't really done much extra with other aspects. One of the things that I could possibly show is some of the art, which I've only just been doing minor work on, but I will definitely start speeding up production on the art. So if I were to do this, you can see the main animation of the idol that the player will have. And if we go ahead and switch to this other one, we have the player attacking. I need to go ahead and work out the extra animations. As soon as I get those sorted out, I will go ahead and start working on the 2D game side of things. And as soon as the 2D game aspects are done in terms of its art and programming, all I really need to do is ensure that there's some way to win or die and pass through on, so that whenever you were to beat the level, you of course go to the dream section, which is the other aspect that I really need to work on. Luckily, this is indie games development, which means I have a lot of time to work on the 3D dream section, which is going to be the part that requires the most amount of time on. But again, that should be all for this update, and I will update you more when I've got more stuff to show. And what I'm likely going to do next is just show some more artwork. That's my plan for the next video, to show the remaining art. Maybe I'll show some programming, but again, that's something for future me to show. Anyway, that's all.